Hey, what's up, guys? This is Joe from Cincinnati here, and I haven't made a video in a pretty long time, and it was a combination of a few things. I recently just bought a home, so I've been spending a lot of time looking at houses, talking to real estate agents, looking at furniture and chandeliers and all that stuff, and uh, that was one big thing going on. I finally closed about a week ago, so uh, I have a little bit more time on my hands. And then, in addition, the game just kind of wasn't changing all that much, I guess you could say. Like, the Phoenix box came out, but that didn't change anything for Crab. I mean, like, we got Hida Amoro, um, and I just don't think there's enough built around him right now to make him anything more than a win more card. Like, he's gonna go off. If you play him enough, he'll go off and he'll ruin games for your opponent, and I'm sure that it's really irritating. But he just was win more. If your opponent knows that they're going to lose a character if they pass a conflict, one of two things is happening. You're winning so hard that they cannot not declare two conflicts, or they can't afford not to declare two conflicts, or they can't declare two conflicts and they're going to lose characters anyway, or they don't care because they have a chud that is bowed with zero fate on it and is going away anyway. And it just, whenever I played it, it felt really janky. It didn't really go off the way I wanted it to, and then I can't pass conflicts because then I lose characters too. So it just felt just a little too win more, a little too janky, a little too combo dependent. Obviously, it works great with Way the Crab. If they sacrifice their used guy, then you assassinate another guy, and then you Way the Crab another guy. Sure, that's going to happen if you play him, and it's going to be annoying for your opponent, but I just don't see it happening consistently enough to warrant his spot, especially when you have so many really, really strong 3 and 4 costers in this deck that do pretty much a better job at what they're doing than he does at what he's doing. So uh, that didn't change. And, I was playing the same basic decks for a while. I played the Scorpion Splash for a while, and that was a lot of fun. But I ultimately, as you can see, ended up back on the Unicorn Splash because it's just so unfairly consistent in the way that it plays the game. So, that's why I didn't really do a lot of videos or any videos for the last couple months. Uh, and then there was an announcement that they're releasing a restricted list less than a year into the game. And this is, as far as I know, completely unheard of for FFG to release a restricted list this early. Let me see if I can pull up that restricted list real quick. Um, it's kind of crazy to think that they felt the need to restrict so many cards, especially so many cards in the core set that came in the core set. Uh, they don't have just a list? Okay, whatever. All right. No, I'm not opening that. Okay. So yeah, they restricted 8 cards. I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe only 7. I don't know. Anyway, so they restricted these cards, and this could potentially really change the way the game's played because there's a lot of cards that you see in so many decks on this list, like Policy Debate. I personally would be surprised whenever I did not see Policy Debate in a person's deck because it just hand knowledge is ridiculous, and you know, and they even say here players have been able to leverage this card even in low political clans like Crab, BMing motherfuckers. But anyway, uh, you know, that card was in a lot of decks, and then you have like Miyamoto's Fury, which Dragon Splash was by far the most splashed clan in the game, and it was not close because of Miyamoto's Fury and Let Go. Now they didn't put Let Go on this list, which I think was the right call because if you put Let Go on a restricted list, you're basically saying you want everyone to run like Jade Tetsubos and Sashimonos and all those big, super powerful attachments that really only were kept in check because of how easy they were to remove and the fate cost that you'd lose if they were let let it let go, um, or calling in favors as well. Forge Edict, because they wanted to break up the Scorpion Dragon, power combo of just like a Fate Worse Than Death, Myrmida's Fury, Forge Edict, Policy Debate, just that deck that wasted your time. Like it's just its entire purpose was to waste your time until you ran out of resources and ran out of honor, and then you lost the game. This is one that impacts Crab the most. Charge, Iron Mine, and For Greater Glory. Obviously, every Crab worth his salt was playing 3 copies of Charge. Every Crab worth his salt was playing 3 copies of Iron Mine. So you have this combo where you charge a guy out, then save him for free, and then the next turn you might have a reprieve, or maybe another Iron Mine, or maybe a rebuild into an Iron Mine, or maybe a Vanguard Warrior. It just made it so that you could get a 5 cost guy out, which costs a card and a fate, and then you just kept him for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 turns, which is ridiculous. It's admittedly ridiculous, and Krabs abused it for a long time. They restricted it. I personally think that it's the right move. And then for Greater Glory. Um, I know it sounds weird, but before Policy Debate came out, Lion was kind of like one of the top clans in the game, you know? And, they got Ujiaki in this cycle, and they got a lot of really powerful cards. The problem was their combo deck, the deck that, that you would say high rolled. You kind of have this meme that Lion, whenever they win, they high roll. It's because of cards like For Greater Glory, where they would charge in an Akoto Totori, or an Ujiaki, for example. If you charge in an Ujiaki and then use his ability to get 2 more characters into play, and then For Greater Glory, and they all stay around for another turn, it just created this situation where they could just build up an insane board state. And in fact, if you're looking at clans that can build the largest board state and create the most strength in one single conflict, Lion wins that by like a country mile. I've seen like Lions do like 60 strength military challenges, 100 strength military. It's ridiculous what they can do. Uh, However, Policy Debate being in every fucking deck meant that Lion has 4 guys, 4 Bushi that they wanna bring into play and attack with, and it's just so obvious. They have 1 fate. They're so obvious that they're going to do For Greater Glory. So what you do is you defend with a political guy. You Policy Debate them. You see the For Greater Glory in their hand, and you discard it. Now they just committed a bunch of guys. They'll likely still get the break, but who really cares? And that was amplified by Charge. So, well, I think it's odd that they put For Greater Glory on the list because Lion is not in a great place right now. Um, it makes sense because without Policy Debate in the game, or I say without policy debate in the game, with most clans having something more important to pick, like Fury or Edict or Iron Mine, or Against the Waves, or whatever. Um, it made For Greater Glory potentially more powerful, and there was a chance that we could go back to that pre-policy debate meta where you did have Lions. Pablo, who came in second place at hmm, blanking on it right now, Birmingham. Pablo, yeah, the crab who made it to the final. He was nicknamed the Lion Slayer because he won Madrid and he beat like 2 or 3 Lions in a row, which was considered impressive at the time. So, there was a time that Lion was a really strong clan. And this restricted list might bring them back to that. I'm not sure. We'd have to see more extensive results than just one Kote. But anyway, and then Against the Waves, Phoenix, they had Kyode Nasawa that just let them recur spells. Whenever they played a spell, then you could play it again right out of their discard pile for no card cost. They still had to pay the fate, obviously, but So one Against the Waves meant they could ready 2 people, and if they saw 3 Against the Waves, it's readying 6 people, or bowing 6 Hugenja, or it created this insane deck. So I understand why they wanted to do that. Policy Debate also hurts them for coming off the list because Tadaka worked really well with Policy Debate. You look at their hand, you see an event that you don't want them to play, you discard it. Now there's one of those in the discard pile. If you have Tadaka in play and they don't have the Earth Ring, then they can't play the other copies of whatever that card you discarded was until they either get the Earth Ring or Tadaka leaves play. They also lost Fury, um, or Forged Edict. You see a lot of Phoenixes running one of those too. So they kind of lost Policy Debate, possibly Fury, possibly Edict. They lost Charge, so Charge Bird or Fushisho for Fushisho, Fushisho, Fushisho was a lot less effective because you have to actually pay 6 fate for a 6 fate character. And I know that sounds crazy to, pay the cost of a character, but they actually had to do it, and it made that Charge Bird much less effective in the deck because 6 fate for one turn of a 6/6, especially when you don't have Policy Debate, because that's what a lot of people did is they charge in a bird, Policy Debate with the bird, where the bird just comes in and goes like caw 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 caw, and then just looks at their hand and discards something. So Phoenix kind of got hit pretty hard, in my opinion. Now, we have one Cote this weekend. It's in Melbourne, Australia. And then we had Birmingham. Phoenix, as far as I know, did not perform well at Birmingham. So we'll see. We'll see. And then finally, Pathfinder's Blade. This was just, I guess, to keep Scorpion, or not Scorpion, Dragon in check. They have Fury on the list, but they would just run Fury if Pathfinder's Blade was on this list. So the designers, I guess, made them decide between Pathfinder's Blade and Fury. It's kind of sad that Crab has 2 cards in this list, but it's like they have one because we never could play Pathfinder's Blade in a legal tournament or an official rules tournament because we are not Seekers, and now the card's restricted. So this is basically a dragon card that was restricted in Pathfinder's Blade because they use it. Scorpion used it too, Crane occasionally used it, but it was mostly dragon, and dragon was almost all just dragon crab like that, because you get free weapons, 3 free weapons that ready the Niten Masters and ignore province effects. It was just so good, and then Reprieve works naturally with them as well. So all in all, you have this restricted list that really, really, really changes the way the game is played. When the list first came out, people were like, "Oh man, Crab got ravaged. They lose charge and they lose potentially Policy Debate if they were running it," which I was. I was running 2 copies because hand knowledge is great. So you lose charge, and how are they going to keep their board sustained if they lose charge? It's going to be such a big blow. Well, turns out the game has slowed down a lot. Other people lost charge as well. So military conflicts are more predictable. And it's just a lot easier to build a board state and keep it around, whereas your opponent's building a board state and it's not staying around as well as yours is. So most people lost charge as well. Most people lost Policy Debate, so your hand is actually doing pretty well. One of the biggest pros of Hida Amoro was that he had a dash in political, and that was because it made him immune to Policy Debate. One of the most annoying things was attacking, like with a Caillou Envoy. It's your first action, planning to charge out your big guy, and then they Policy Debate him and grab it. With Amoro, that doesn't work anymore. They can't Policy Debate a dash. So that was one of his biggest pros. So gone. And then we never ran Fury, Forged Edict, Furrier to Glory, Against the Waves, Pathfinder's Blade. None of these really made our lists that often. You'd occasionally see it, but not so often. So, we lost charge, or Iron Mine. Some people are running charge, like the tempo-based crab. I think that there are a couple out there that they do that and they're having success, which is fine. I prefer Iron Mine. I prefer a slower, more gradual win condition, but I understand in like in time matches, sometimes people are worried about that, so they want to run charge instead of Iron Mine. So anyway, so yeah, with that in mind, I figured I'd just go over my list. There's not a whole lot of changes, but I haven't done one of these. I haven't talked about decks, and I haven't published decks. Yeah, I'm on revision 167 of my 3rd issue, so I haven't issued this thing in a while. I haven't published it in a while, and I haven't made a video for a while. So I just wanted to go through quickly some of the things. The provinces are pretty standard. I've been back on Defend the Wall and in the row and Rally to the Cause under box for a while. Defend the Wall was a card that initially I didn't really like because I never really triggered it all that much. Uh, and I took it out and I put Ancestral Lands in and then ran Rally to the Cause in my row for a while, like in the early seasons. Mainly because it's like if Crane runs into Rally to the Cause and it fucks up their turn, that was happy to me. The problem was once it's flipped, it's just a dead province, and they can just ping it with all their weak attacks. Like typically people when you're attacking, when you're playing, typically your opponent will have one province or one attack that they are trying to break something, or at least attempting to win resoundingly. And then they have an attack where it's just like a one cost guy or maybe a two cost guy, and they just want to see what you do when they attack. They want to see how you defend. Maybe you'll defend with a big guy, and then that big guy won't attack, and things like that. And having a blank ass province in your row just gave them somewhere to go once it was triggered. So, they'd come at Meditations or Manicure Garden or Shameful Display when they wanted to break or, force through a win. But then they go to Rally when they just want to see what they can get. Maybe they're collecting Fate off a ring. Maybe they're whatever. So I wanted to get Rally out of my province row because that shit's terrible in the province row. So I put Defend the Wall back in my province row, and it's actually been doing pretty well. It doesn't trigger all that much, like I said, but it really prevents those chump conflicts just to collect Fate. That's something that's not really happening all that often. So that's good, and I trigger it sometimes too, and it's nice. And I'll go into a couple more synergies that I put into the deck with that as well. Manicured Garden, I'm going with that over Fertile Fields, and that's mainly because this deck has a lot of one-cost attachments, a lot of one-cost events, and just it's expensive. You don't have charge anymore, so you kind of have to actually buy your characters to keep them around for a long time. So having Fate is good. It's a good thing. Meditations, obviously, it's the only real option unless you want to run Night Raid. Mm, mm. And then Shameful versus Pilgrimage. I understand some people like Pilgrimage. I don't really like Pilgrimage. Um, it's just a matter of, Pilgrimage I've always found is for clans that don't really intend to put up a big defense. Like, for example, Scorpion. I mean, right now Scorpion runs both, but I could see an argument for Scorpion running Pilgrimage rather than Shameful Display once they're no longer Seeker of Void, because a lot of times Scorpion is not really interested in winning a conflict. So as long as they just stop you from breaking the conflict, they're pretty happy about it. And then when you have Pilgrimage, not breaking, and then only winning, you don't get the ring. So it's really only like you get the ring for favor, and then you maybe cause some dishonor for unopposed. So, I could see that. They want maybe they if the shit hits the fan, they can fate worse than death you. But as long as you're staying under 5 strength with your attack, they don't really care if you win a conflict or not. Theoretically, I mean, maybe Scorpion players might think differently. I don't fucking know. I'm not a Scorpion player. Um, anyway, Borderlands Defenders 3, obviously, it's just a safe character, a 3/3 for 3, 1 glory. And when you defend with her, you know she's going to end the conflict there, for better or worse. It's just a very comforting card, and using a mountain on her is just one of the best things ever. Crisis Breaker, I have 2. I could go to 3. I have just this one little intimidating Hida. I could technically go to 3 breakers, but I found that his stats are not fantastic. So once you have a breaker out, you really don't need a second breaker. They're kind of like, I would call them like purveyors of your spyglasses and watch commanders. Like they just kind of carry around. It's almost like, if you think of like God, what the hell's that card's name? Fuck. The Unicorn Courtier, that when people move into conflicts and shit, you can draw a card or gain a fate. That's kind of what I think about Crisis Breaker. You just put things on him that you want to get in multiple conflicts, and then you just tow him around. Like I said, he doesn't have great stats, 3/1, but what I like to do with him, and I've heard comments like, our biggest weaknesses are Scorpion and Crane, so well, arguably our biggest weaknesses, and he doesn't really help because they can win without really ever declaring military conflicts or without winning military conflicts. So what's the point? Well, what you can do is you can actually attack with him politically to get the first trigger, and then he's bowed, and then you can attack militarily, and if they defend and actually try and stop you, then you bring in the crisis breaker. If there's ever a time where you're not winning the conflict, the crisis breaker comes in. So you're almost guaranteeing two triggers if you attack with the crisis breaker politically. And when you put spyglasses and watch commanders and talismans and shit on him, or fans even, I mean he can put up a fight in political. And even if he doesn't, I mean you're purveying your attachments with him. That's his purpose. So I want to see one. I don't really want to see two until the first one's gone. So that's why I went to two. Favorable Ground is just a great card. Like I said, Spyglasses, Watch Commanders. You want to tow that shit around. Move it into as many conflicts as possible. Favorable Ground. I'm not running any Funeral Pyres. I know some people were doing one. I did not really have space, in my opinion. I had too many things I wanted to run. Amoro, I'm not running. Win more card, not really necessary. I already talked about that. Hida Guardian, I'm running two of them because Hida Guardian is so bad early in the game. Like he's a straight or she's a straight 1/1/1 for one because the odds of getting two characters into a single conflict and not fucking up, like in it being a good idea, are very low. So she's a 1/1 for one. She's really good later in the game. Like once you have a couple rebuilds, or maybe you have like two holdings in play, and you can rebuild a third one, and then you attack with her and somebody else, and then she becomes a 7 strength, essentially by giving the other person 6 strength in both. So later in the game, she's fantastic. But early on, I do not want to see her because she's just a blank 1/1 for one, and there are better ways to spend my fate, like on Haruma Skirmishers and Ayuchi Wayfinders. Hida Kasada 3, I don't feel like that needs all that much justification. I know some people were saying, like, do I want to reduce my Casadas because he's a 5 cost and I don't have charge anymore? I don't. Here's my reasoning. In the game right now, there's going to be less Furies, obviously, because people are going to want to run their Against the Waves. They're going to want to run their Pathfinder's Blades. They're going to want to run, their restricted cards. And with less Furies, Casada becomes better because he's 7 military strength and he just attacks or he just defends and he's just like, hey, I'm fucking here. Now you got to deal with me. And people are like, I can't deal with you. I can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, so I thought, so I break this shit. So he's expensive, but he's actually gotten better with less Furies around and less policy debates indirectly. Um, no Tomonatsu, that's obvious. She's trash. No Yojimbo. I like the Yojimbos, I just have trouble finding space for them. They're one stat better on political than the Intimidating Hida, and then they have the Two Glory, which a lot of times is a downside, and they cannot be declared as an attacker. So, compared to an Intimidating Hida, I was trying to decide between, like, should I do one Hida or one Yojimbo? And I went with the one Hida for the honor pressure. And it's a little more expensive, one more fate, but you know, that's a your call type of thing. But I'm happy with the one Intimidating Hida. No storehouse. I had one storehouse, but I was just using it as a stop for Mia Satoshi, and there are better options. So anyway, that's for there. One Intimidating Hida. He's really good late game. Um, when your opponent's running out of honor and you're pushing in your conflicts, they might have a diminished board, and you're really pressing them on honor so they can't afford to pass. That affects the way they defend. So it's really strong late game. Early game, I'm not as impressed. He's a 4/2 for 3. I have, I can get a Borderlands Defender or a Crisis Breaker and help carry around my items better and things like that. So he is a natural 4, so that's good. But early on in the game, I don't find myself buying them all that often, so I feel comfortable with just the 1. I could go to 2 at some point, I'm not sure. We'll see. Iron Mines, obviously, 3. That's my restricted card. It's just the best holding in the game. Maybe Kanjo District. Maybe Karada District. I don't know, it's one of the best holdings in the game, and flipping that on a broken province is just a great way to piss off all your opponents. because that means one of your guys is just staying around longer than they should. It's just what's going to happen. 3 Kaio Envoys, that's obvious. It's just an economy machine. Kaio Inventor, you don't have to worry about him. Shuichi, I have 3 more. Covert has gotten better with less charge, because they can't just charge in a guy to defend, so they kind of have to defend. So you covert their important guy, and then they have to defend with someone, or you covert their little guy and they have to defend with their important guy. You know, decisions you make. Karate District auto-include at 1 until it's banned, which I'm sure it will be at some point. This card is so fucking broken. 3 Keeper Initiates. I could go on forever about Keeper Initiates, and I have an article, and it's basically done, and it's about Keeper Initiates, but I don't know, it feels like overkill, because everyone should know how great Keeper Initiates are. I feel like the next time I release that article will be the next time I interact with a crab player who has taken Keeper Initiates out of his deck. Then I'll just, like, in a rage, finish up that article and publish it just to tell that person why exactly they're wrong for taking those out of their deck. Anyway, Mia Mystic, I'm going to get to that in a second. Mia Satoshi, I think this guy kind of makes the deck run more consistently. He is 4 cost, but he's 4 political, 2 glory, which is on occasion really nice because you can get it to be a 4/6, which is fantastic. And then his action basically digs for Karate District and Imperial Palace. And then I'll just get to it now. Mia Mystic's a good card because it's more attachment control. It's really good against calling in favors. If they steal something that you don't want them to have, you can discard Mia Mystic. It's also a stop for Satoshi. I'm kind of like it's kind of half and half. Whenever I see the Mia Mystic, it's good sometimes and completely pointless other times, especially when I trigger Satoshi in the middle of a conflict. When I get Mia Mystic, I'm just like, okay. I was running 1 Imperial Storehouse, but like I said, I just didn't feel the need to. I kind of wanted to experiment a little bit. I also plan on experimenting a little bit with Stoic Magistrate, but as a 1x, that's another option you have. So you could go Imperial Storehouse for more holdings and more like 1 card draw. You could do a Mia Mystic for potentially for some control of, like, removing Cloud the Mines, for example. Or you can do like a Stoic Magistrate, who, you know, a lot of people nowadays are opening with early 1 to 2 cost characters. Like 1 to 2 cost characters on turn 1. That makes Stoic Magistrate an interesting character. I don't think he's necessarily because necessarily. I don't think he's really that important to the deck because it's relatively simple to play around him. You attack with your big guys, you defend with your little guys. It makes Stoic Magistrate a blank 3 for 2/2, which is terrible. But in the cases that they can't do that, they have nothing but little guys. Then they have to make decisions, and that's where he shines. So it's like on occasion. On occasion, he's useful. Shrid Yasuki's a 3 card draw engine. You know, just a great card. I love seeing Yasuki. He's one of the most assassinated characters in the game, I think. Next to, like, Swordsmith and shit. 3 Steadfast Witch Hunters. The only matchup that I don't want to see as many Witch Hunters as possible is against Phoenix, because they keep fucking bowing him with their 6 against the waves. Fucking bullshit. But it's just really good to just ready your characters who have spyglasses and watch commanders and, you know, blah 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 blah. All that shit. And then the Imperial Palace, that's mostly to deny favor from Crane and Lion and Phoenix, who have all these broken nonsense shit that they do with, like, Yoshi. Yoshi is so broken. So broken. Like, 3 cards and as much fate as you can muster during that conflict. It's fucking ridiculous that they printed that card the way it was. The fact that he's also a 2/6 when motherfucker can't even hold a sword. It's like, if you understood the lore of Yoshi, you'd understand that his stats make no fucking sense. Like, he's a 2 military strength when he's actually not allowed to hold a sword. Or draw steel, as they call it. Because he's cursed. Read up on that if you want. I don't know about the current lore, but that was the old L5R lore, and I am assuming that is going to translate over in some way. And then it's just a 2 strength holding. Like, you know, it's just, if you get this on Shameful Display, it's just like, huh, good luck breaking my 5 strength Shameful Display. And then 3 Vanguard Warrior. Just a good fucking card. Like, just 2 for 2/1, and then, you know, you sacrifice himself and keep another guy around. It's just fantastic shit, man. So, Vengeful Berserker's jank. You can theoretically get up to the legendary lion numbers of, like, 60 strength and all that shit, but you don't need to. You know what I mean? Wandering Ronin is trash. And Taka's the jankiest bullshit in the entire fucking game. I don't feel the need to talk about that. We're gonna run down this conflict deck real quick. Assassination, obviously, 2. It's fine. I have found that 3 is too many, and I start bleeding myself of honor, but 2 assassinations, especially when you combo it with Way the Crab, it just creates a lot of board pressure. That is, it's not really, it's not ever a bad thing to remove like a swordsmith or, you know, one of those little fuckers, the 1/3s that remove honor and dishonor tokens. Like, get that shit out of there. Um, yeah, so it's just like really good card. So, but 3 is just, I found it to be too much. Bonsai 2, I had it at 3, but with Tadaka floating around, I don't really like running. I want to reduce the number of 3 copy events that I have in the deck. I know I already know that I have to run. I don't have to. I already know that I'm locked in, like confident on 3 rebuilds, 3 Way of the Crabs, and 3 court games. So I didn't want to make a 4th 3x, just in case I ran into a Phoenix. I didn't want my entire hand to be blocked out by Tadaka's bullshit. Born in War Breakthrough, Captivanius, Cavalry Reserves, not going to go over those. Censure is too janky. Kreb is not great at getting the favor, unless they have the Imperial Palace, but it's not a reliable thing. Charge, obviously, is restricted. I'm running Iron Mind, so I can't run Charge. Cloud the Mind. I have, with Mystic, I have 7 Shugenja in here. I've seen some people run Cloud the Mind out of Crab. You know, that's something you can do. I don't. I found it to be a little too... I don't want to say janky, because it's not janky, but it takes a while to set up. So, you know, if you don't see a Steadfast Witch Hunter, what are you gonna... You're gonna, like... You're gonna have the Wayfinder, so you're gonna play a Wayfinder, and then if it doesn't get assassinated or something, then you play a Cloud the Mind. Or, if you don't have your Cloud of the Minds when you're drawing your Wayfinders, you're like, oh, do I play my Wayfinders with a Fate and then keep them around for another turn, and then I can Cloud the Mind, and then they get assassinated, and you're like, well, I just fucking wasted two Fate. And then you never even draw your Cloud of the Mind. So it's like, it's just a little too reliant on other cards that I don't have a ton of. Like, it's really only good for me when I have Steadfast Witch Hunters out, because I want to keep those guys around for like 3-4 turns. That gives me time to draw my Cloud the Minds. You know what I mean? So, me and Mystic, I play it and I lose it basically in that same round most of the time, like 99% of the time. Court games, it's just a 3x. It's just honor tokens. Honor tokens are too powerful in this game. So if they have a Yoshi who's honored, you need to get away. You need to find a way to dishonor him. And court games is a really good way. In addition, you have like Satoshi and you have Shuichi and you know, you have guys that are relatively worth honoring too. And sometimes it's really nice to just have like +2 political because you honored the Shuichi or the Keeper Initiate, and you just like, you know, get +2 strength in that conflict. And they can't really counter court games it unless the 2 glory guys attacking alone, because then you can just dishonor one of your other guys has 0 or 1 glory. So you're kind of netting strength in the court games to court games, you know, double play. Alright. Fine Katana. I had 5 slots I need to replace. 3 charge, 2 policy debates. What's better than a free +2 military? You know, I was already running all 3 fans, but now I have space to run 2 katanas as well. It's pretty good. Finger of Jade, similar situation. I needed to fill the 5 slots, and as you can see, there's like a bunch of garbage that's available to me right now. Ferrocord, garbage. Fallen in Battle, garbage. Favor Mount. I mean, I'm already using all 13 of my influence, but it's still not great. It's like a combo card. For Shame, I don't have enough courtiers for that. Gaijin Customs, that's another thing with influence, and I can talk about that a little bit. Goblin Sneak's pretty expensive. I don't like 2 Fade cards out of my conflict deck, because that's like, do I play a Goblin Sneak for 2, or do I play a Spyglass and a Talisman? You know what I mean? It's just 2 Fade's really expensive out of the conflict deck. Good Omen's bad. Guardian Kami is so situational, it's like ridiculous. Basically, like, okay, am I paying 2 Fate to put a guy into a conflict, and then my opponent has, so my opponent has like 2 options, is that they can let it happen or they can do something about it. obviously. Uh, so it's like if they don't want you to get the ring, they can always assassinate it or cloud the mind it. If they don't care or if they don't have a way to stop it, yeah, you get a ring, but you didn't pick the ring. It's defending, so you didn't pick the ring, and they have a window where they can stop you from using the character if they have an assassinator or cloud the mind, if it's actually critical. So if it's actually critical, then they can stop it most likely because a lot of people are running three clouds, a lot of people are running assassination. So if for whatever reason they lose the game, if you trigger that Guardian Kami, they can answer it with Cloud the Mind or something like that. So it's not even like a two fate event because if it were a two fate event, I could just play it and then potentially win. They actually have a window in between when I play them and when I can use them. And then, like I said, they choose the ring. So, of course, there will be times when they're at 2 honor or 1 honor or something like that, and they do an air ring. Then you can play the Guardian Kami, and you're like, haha, I'm going to take an honor from you. And then they're like, cloud it. You're like, shit. Okay. I just spent 2 fate for a garbage 1-1. Um, Obviously, drawing a cloud isn't the worst thing in the world, but those situations are not that common, where playing the Guardian Kami wins the game for you. It's not common. Harum Amateur is just also just an expensive guy. I am ready, eat a messenger garbage. Jade Tetsubo, 2 coster, it's really expensive. It really sets up combos great, but 2 fate is just so expensive. Lovey is trash, Mono no Aware. So you can see, like, we don't have a lot of options here. So I went with one finger of Jade, and it's not bad. I'm actually pretty impressed by it overall. Skirmishers, obviously. Wayfinders, obviously. There's a debate between, like, Wayfinders and Gaijin Customs and maybe Talismans. I think Talisman is amazing. Like, I run 2 of them. I tried it at 1, and then, like, 2 Gaijin Customs. You know what I mean? But, like, oof. That is rough, because Talisman is so fucking good. Like, Talisman just wins games by itself. Wins games. They attack you, your stronghold. They're winning, they're breaking. I play a Talisman. I move you over to my fourth province. Oh, did you attack with everybody? Okay. You break it. Good job. Thanks for playing. You enjoy that break? Alright, I'm going to attack your stronghold and win. Whereas I would have otherwise lost. Alright, fans. You gotta love them. Free, +2 in political. That really helps Crab. Policy debates restricted. Raise the alarm. I know that Pablo played 2 in his winning deck. Pierre Lamaison also played, I think, 2. Fact check me on that. I think it was 2. Anyway, it's fine. It's a good card. It gets you free characters that you can use Iron Mines and shit with. It's kind of like a faux replacement for a charge. I wrote about it in my article regarding the restricted list. Um, it's a fine card. You know, What I don't understand is when people will not run Crisis Breaker, but they will run Raise the Alarm. Because, like, the argument for not running Crisis Breaker is, like, he helps you in military conflicts, and Crab's already good at military conflicts. Why do I need this? But then you're running Raise the Alarm. It just doesn't, it's like a disconnect that I can't really, justify. It's like, so you don't want to run a guy that carries around your spyglasses and watch commanders because he's good at military and you're already good at military. But you will play a card that's completely fucking random. You have no idea what's under that fucking card when you flip it. It could be a Casada, or it could be a Hida Guardian when you have no holdings, or a Kaio Envoy, which is fine. A Kaio Envoy is fine, but it's not going to win you conflicts, and it's not something that is amazing. Um, so the logic there, I don't need help winning military, but I'm playing a card that only helps during military and defense when they're attacking a face-down card in military. It's like people say like it combines with Talisman of the Sun to I move them over to a face-down card and then I raise the alarm. It's like, but then the same people saying that are running one Talisman because they want to run Gaijin Customs. It just like I just feel like there's a disconnect with this card that that people are not really justifying to me when talking about it. So I'm just choosing to ignore it. Rebuilds 3 because of Iron Mines and getting Karada District back, and getting Imperial Palace back, and Favorable Grounds back. Those are all fantastic cards. Satoshi dumps stuff into your discard pile, so Rebuild activates really early on if you find Satoshi, so it's just good. Reprieve is fantastic, obviously. Now I'm running 2 route, and this is what I'm also replacing Charge with. Is I essentially replaced Policy Debate with Fine Katana and Charge with 1 Finger of Jade and 2 routes. You could easily do 2 Finger of Jade and 1 route. There's other cards options as well. Seal the Crab is an interesting card because of Keeper Initiates and things like that. And then you have like Spies at Court if you're looking to pressure their hand. Stoic Gunso can become 5 military strength if you sacrifice a guy that's going away anyway. That's fantastic. You can go to the 3rd mountain. I found that with less charges and less policy debates, it's really important to have a good number of characters on the board, and anytime you can squeeze additional efficiency out of a character is a win. So Mountain Does Not Fall has gotten a lot better now that charge is not as common, because you're trying to get as much value out of your own cards as you possibly can, just like your opponent is, because there's no charge to cheat characters in as well. So I could see a 3rd mountain. I could see a one Stoic Gunso maybe. I could see 1 Spies at Court, 1 Seal the Crab. I went with 2 routes because route is really good. 1 with Defend the Wall, and this is like some synergy I was talking about. Is Defend the Wall plus route means like they attack politically with Hotaru, let's say. 3 military strength, 6 political strength. They are breaking something. They're winning. They're doing something really good. They're breaking the Defend the Wall. If you have like a Crisis Breaker and you Stronghold to get him to 4, then you can just like fuck Hotaru off the board. Just like, go home, bitch. Like, I don't need to deal with you. You're not getting 2 rings from me. Go. And then not only do you deny them the ring, then you potentially claim the ring with Defend the Wall. In addition, you can also run route to dishonor your opponent. If you attack and they defend with 1 character and it's an air ring and they have 2 honor left or 3 honor left or whatever, they're really low, and they think all they need to do is stop it because you're attacking so much that they can't actually win on defense. They just don't want to lose unopposed. And then you route their 1 character home and they lose unexpectedly, and you feel really intelligent for a second. So yeah, that's why I'm running 2 routes, because like people have said, Crab's weaknesses are Scorpion and Crane. Well, what is really good against Scorpion and Crane? Route is really good against Scorpion and Crane. Routing home a Shoju, in a political conflict no less. Routing home a Hotaru, routing home a whatever you want to do, man. Like, it's your world. Route is really good. Seal the Crab, like I said, you can use like 1 or 2x if you wanted to try it. I still find that it's just a tad bit too janky. Eventually we're going to get more Berserker trait stuff, I'm assuming, and having it give people Berserker, I could see it, replacing Fine Katanas. I have 2 Fine Katanas here. They could become 2 Seal the Crabs if more Berserker stuff comes out, who's to say. But right now I just don't feel a need to do it. I spoke about Spies, I spoke about that. Spyglass, obviously. Read 3 copies of Spyglass. This is the defining card of the Unicorn Splash. Either that or Talisman. They kind of go hand in hand, in a way. Spyglass is like 3, because, you have a bunch of cards like Crisis Breaker and Mountain Does Not Fall and Steadfast Witch Hunter and Water Ring, obviously. To get favorable grounds, to get characters into multiple conflicts, and just drawing a bunch of cards. Drawing cards means you can bid lower, means more honor pressure, means winning games. And then Talisman, like I said, if you're losing, move into Shameful Display. If you're winning, move into Defend the Wall. If you need Fate, move into Manicured Garden. If you want to get rid of a character, move it to Meditations. Just so many ways to use that card. And then in addition, it's the whole like save your stronghold thing, where they attack big on your stronghold, you play a Talisman, move it over, and now they broke your 4th province. You can't play Rebuild anymore, but you just didn't lose the game. And then you can, win the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so... And then Mountain Does Not Fall, like I said, you could go 3 if you wanted to. If you wanted to go down to 1 route or remove Finger or something, you can go to 3 mountains. 3 Watch Commanders, that is I could talk about that for a while as well. It's just getting it into a bunch of conflicts, making it them pay honor to lose a game. I have a couple games that I'm going to show you guys as along with this list, and whew, Watch Commander does work, man. It's just like even early in the game when they have like 11 to 10 to 9 honor, just hitting them early. It's like when they have a lot of cards in their hand, they might think going from 9 to 8 honor is not a big deal. You know better. You're the smart one. You do it. You go, man. And then before they know it, they're at 4 honor, and you're attacking air with a Watch Commander and breaking a province, and they can't do anything to stop you. And they are going to lose more honor. And then you court games their shit, and it's like, oh, that guy's leaving play, and he's dishonored, and now I'm at 1 honor. I better do an air ring, and then like they do an air ring, and then like you stop it and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, Waning Hostilities is not really a card I want to play. Neither is Walking the Way or Way the Chrysanthemum. If you're really interested, you can ask me about why I don't like those cards. I just don't feel they're necessary. And then Way of the Crab. I talk so much about Way of the Crab. I think it's one of the best events in the entire game. Uh, Crabs who don't play it, I feel like, are unnecessarily gimping themselves. It's a card that, when the opportunity arises, it'll win you the game. And there's not a lot of cards out there that just, in the right circumstance, just fucking win the game. And I could go into more detail about like how to set it up. I feel like I do that a lot during my videos of gameplay, where I walk through the steps of how I set up Way of the Crabs in the way that I do. But, you know, even more so than that, you have like, for example, I had a game where I was attacking with a Haruma Skirmisher, and I coverted one of my opponent's characters that could actually stop it. Like he had a couple 1 strength guys, like a 1/2 and a 1/1, and then like a guy that could actually stop the conflict. And I was just attacking with the Haruma Skirmisher, and I coverted the guy that could actually stop it. And he had a decision like, do I let it go unopposed, or do I use one of my 1 strength guys to defend it? He chose to let it go unopposed, which that's fine. I mean, it was like a 2-cost guy and a 1-cost guy. I forget what they were. I think it was like was it a Shruyasuke and a Kai Envoy, something like that. Anyway, he didn't want to use either of them in defense because he wanted to, attack politically with them, or use them as his own attack. So he did not defend with anything. Then he attacks, and I just weigh the crab. He has 3 standing guys. I have 1 bowed guy. I discard the bowed Haruma Skirmisher, and now he has to choose. Like, do I get rid of one of my guys that could potentially attack or potentially defend the next conflict, or what the fuck do I do? You're thinning their board. That's what you're doing. And I know it's not always going to set up like that, but there are situations where it is incredibly useful. And I just think people underestimate the value of it. You pay 1 fate to remove a character from their board, and you technically remove one of your characters, but a lot of times that's inconsequential because you have a low-cost guy or someone that's leaving play anyway, and it's not a big deal to lose them. So I know that people like are always trying to set up the 3 to 5 cost bomb character going away. You don't need to do that. It's great when you do it. And I love a good phase Way of the Crab, but you can do it in the conflict phase. You can force them to make decisions. You know what I mean? I had another game where my opponent, I attacked political, and I had like a Kai Envoy at home, and he had 2 political rivals. I think one had a fate, one didn't have a fate. He defended with the one that did not have a fate. I think it was a water ring or some shit like that. He had a Yoshi and then these 2 political rivals. My first action, Way of the Crab. So now he has to choose between winning the conflict. Maybe it wasn't water ring. I don't know. Winning the conflict on defense, or keeping his rival that had a fate on him. He chose to remove the rival with 1 fate, and that meant he won the conflict, but he lost a 1 strength or a 1 fate political rival. Alternatively, if he discards the rival in the conflict, then he loses conflict. So there are just ways to manipulate your opponent with Way of the Crab that I don't think a lot of people really truly fully appreciate. It's weak against Lion because Lion just swarms the board like no clan I've ever seen. But other than that, I mean, I just think that it's underrated in a lot of ways. So uh, anyway, that's the entire list. I fucking 50 minutes. Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot. No one's gonna listen to this. Anyway, I'll wrap this up, and then I'll play some games for you. All right. Thanks for watching.